always found them. Out to the south, my nigga barely got out. Sunny LA, remember calls with Dr. Dre. He told me, don't let the palm trees with you niggas be fake. You can't learn how yourself, we all want to speak. Somehow we all want to connection. I need a gotcha tree. It's bothering me. So many lady women, gotta log out of IG. Can't be my ATM and pop, no kidding. It's hard to move like a civilian. I write the truth, cause I'm living not like you used to. Niggas, we did it, dig it. They rather shoot than write tickets. What it feel like to go get it, what it feel like to go miss it. In one city, one country, one state. Some place to be nobody. Some place to be. Some place you with no problem. Some place to be nobody. My dog bought a place that is go to Paris. That's where the guests are from. French bread that's long and narrow. I like the other definition, rectangular carriage. The concept of the song is rather esoteric. This girl said in Grenada when she go get married. Broke the name down of the Virgin Mary. And you got your own place. My favorite part of the night when you text me that you made it home safe. I'm contemplating at the home base. How I'm used to breakfast in the ghetto, sipping OJ. That's a picture right there, a moment in time. Before anybody wanted a photo of mine. Before the internet energy and social decline. Destroying the vibe, fooling us with the headlines. Emotions eat you alive. Take your time. What should I find? One city, one country, one state. Some place to be nobody. Some place to be. Some place you be. Some place to be nobody. One. Every time it's down, it's all figured out. That's why I know that I can beat it down. All right. Thank you, I'm walking.
Let's walk to freedom!
Thank you, I'm walking.
Let's walk to freedom!
Greetings to everybody who just walked in. Welcome to the Uprising. I can see you guys have already been notified. You are radiant, you are glowing. Thank you so much for joining the event. I'm hoping that the sound will get better for our guests. Don't have to deal with bad sound. Yes. Igama langu Ntsiki Mazwai. It's a pleasure to be your program director for this evening. I just want to advise everybody who came on the tour that the first bus leaves as soon as the conversation ends, and the second bus will leave 30 minutes after that. So the first bus leaves exactly as they finish, then the next bus. May I just add that even at the bar, we're respectful of the conversation that's going to be on stage. We're Africans. In the beginning, there was the word. We respect the word. We come from a tradition of storytelling. We're just trying to get the microphone right so that when the panelists come on stage, it's a bit better than this. So, Tina, as I'm Africa, we come from a rich tradition of storytelling, and that's how we pass on our traditions, our history, our culture, and our languages. So this conversation today is very important, especially because the diaspora is now coming together with the Africans at home. And we're also having an intergenerational conversation, which is how we pass on information as Africans. You guys know why you're here. The show was sold out, so you definitely know why you're here. We welcome our beautiful, graceful, humble sister to Ntsiki. Please make some noise for Rapsody, guys. I know you know her. I know you can do better than that. Make some noise! Thank you so much for being with us. You're so important to us. And especially as a woman in hip hop, over the years we've seen a degeneration of women on the hip hop stage, and it's so important to have a female MC who has been sustaining for years and years without taking off her clothes, without moving funny, and always moving with the conscious rappers. You know she works with Botagi Kwadi, the conscious website of hip hop. So we recognize her as one of our queens. You know who our hip hop queens are. And then obviously our heritage, our leaders, the people who fought for us to even be in the space together multiracially, the people who took to the streets for us the people whose blood flows on these streets for us, the people whose energy still exists within us, which is why we are still bubbling and uprising, because we are not yet Uhuru. So, with Dr. Seth Mazibuko, please make some noise for Dr. Seth Mazibuko. You guys know him, and yes, Dr. Seth, you guys have failed us. You have failed us dismally, and I'm sure we're going to unpack how we dropped the ball as the African community when we had such an important opportunity in '94. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to give over to the panel. They're going to have a conversation, and then later on there will be Q&A session. To the audience watching on the Moya podcast, Moya Unlight, Moya Upright, we see you. So thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who is here. We love your energy here. Please, can we keep the silence nicely going the whole conversation so that we can be enraptured in the conversation that's going to happen tonight. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to hand over to the lady. Thank you so much. How are you all doing tonight? Yeah. What a beautiful walk on Mandela Day, a remembrance of those who sacrificed and fought for liberation. And we're here with one of the iconic, legendary leaders, with the Seth Mazibuko. It's been a pleasure for me to walk alongside him all night and just hear some personal stories as we've taken this trek. I have a few questions prepared. If you don't mind, I'm going to read some of them because my mind goes everywhere. But I'm going to get it started. I want to start first by connecting it to my journey back. Before I got here, I went to Ghana. And in Ghana, I went to visit two slave castles, Cape Coastal and Elmina. And during my trip, my tour, they talked about how some of the slave women were raped. And when they had their children, they would take the children and put the children in school and teach them. And to me, that was a form of psychological warfare, right? When I think about the Soweto Uprising and the fight against the imposition of Afrikaans in schools, I see a painful echo of the same tactic, to break a people by first colonizing their minds through language. So I want to ask you, as someone who stood up to that weaponization of language, what did language mean to you in that moment? And how did you understand the fight for your native tongue as a form of protecting identity, dignity, and the future of liberation?
Thank you very much. I'm not very well, but I'll go on. I think there is the first part that I want to touch on that immediately touches on many of the Black young people that are here today. When apartheid was introduced, when the apartheid education was introduced, the purpose of that apartheid education was clearly defined by Verwoerd. Verwoerd was then also one of the architects of those who actually designed apartheid. He said, am I right with this? He said when he was doing this, teach the Black child, but don't teach the Black child mathematics, science, because they will not have a need for those two subjects. Park that. He went on to say, the education system of Bantu education should make a Black child to see the greener pastures, but not reach them. So the design, a man of the stature of Steve Biko and a Black consciousness leader was able to pick up that quickly, particularly in the 1960s, when there was a period in South Africa where there was a total lull of leadership. They were either in prison If not in prison, they were underground. And again, they were opportunistic white liberals that fitted into that space. And I remember, you won't understand what I'm going to say, we used to call them abelungu abasithandayo. These were your, and I'm sorry I'm going to be open, these are your Helen Sue's men. Your Helen Sue's men who started at that time what was called the Progressive Federal Party. That Progressive Federal Party occupied the space of Black leadership. And that is when Steve Biko spoke and said, Black men, you are on your own. And Steve Biko started becoming strong in this, that apartheid used education, just like in Ghana, and to oppress us. Then Steve Biko said, start with psychological freedom before you can even come up with physical freedom. We have today, and Ntsiki just said something, don't take it light. Some of us feel, whilst you guys feel disappointed by us, many of us feel disappointed by our own comrades. And if you go back and check, where did we go wrong? Psychological oppression. It is about time that African people, and again, Black people, must start coming up with, and there is this tendency, even in this liberation, do we call it liberation? Okay, something similar to, and where you have a lot of us, even as Black people, wanting to mimic whites. There's a lot, the only child who is learned now is a child that goes, hello. Now, what am I saying? I'm trying to say we need a new revolution. And that revolution doesn't only belong to South Africa. It belongs to all Black people, even with your songs, even with your attitude. People sitting here, we should be talking, and thanks, Nomi, for inviting us. We should be saying, how do we RDP ourselves? How do we reconstruct and develop ourselves as Black people? And we need your kind.
You got me. Woo! I love that.
That was a very impactful answer. My next question, just to make it an intercontinental thing, in America, under the current administration that we have, that echoes fascist tactics, we're witnessing the trauma of families being ripped apart by ICE, children taken from their parents, entire communities living in fear of the state. I have friends, one rescue you've seen taking pictures, who's actively involved in the resistance in LA. And I often ask myself, what does it mean to act in the face of fear? What does it take to move anyway, even when you know the consequences could be prison, exile, or even death? You were just a teenager, 16, I believe, correct?
Yes.
When you helped lead the Soweto Uprising, you faced guns, tanks, machinery, and you still stood up. Can you speak to how you became activated? How did you feel on that day? Were you afraid, and how did you carry that fear without letting it paralyze you?
Okay. I hope I'm not going to cry, and because immediately, and I always say journalists and reporters like to ask this question, and it is a question that sometimes when one has got to answer, then one becomes tearful. Just today, earlier in the morning, I was in the school where I was leading. Students were painting the school and we're helping. And can I say this, that I still have the picture of 13-year-olds. One, being given heavy tear gas. Two, dogs unleashed to them. Three, they were carrying books, but they were given bullets. I still see the Hastings Ndlovu. I still have the Hector Peterson. And I remember that very evening, Mama Winnie Mandela and others, we went to Baragwanath Hospital in the mortuary there. We saw corpses of children just that one night, just the day and when going that night. There were about 188 bodies of children. And all of them bloody and only now intact. Now, some of these things, when they come back, I usually say, I took the black child, or I led the black child out of the classrooms only to be killed by the black police and white police. That still sits in pain with me. And that is why I'll never stop even working with these young people, because to me, it is a part of my paying back for those that lost their lives. And it is a challenge that we take light how your cameraman spoke about this expression from Solomon Mahlangu. Solomon Mahlangu said something very interesting. He was going to go down to the dark gallows, and he said, he looked at his mother and said to the mother, Mama, the tree of liberation shall be watered by the blood of the martyrs. Please go and tell that to my people. Most of these young people that are sitting here today are going to tell you they're not enjoying the fruit of that tree. Never mind the shade. The most painful part of them not even enjoying the fruit of the tree, is that the people who are supposed to be watering with their sweat now, they're cutting it off. I wish to start a new June 16. A new June 16 that says, we are not going to cut off that tree. Instead, we are going to use more of our sweat to water that tree and protect it. A pain of having to be losing the days of my youth. But I had a girlfriend and she was very beautiful. And now she's the mother of my kids. and I always say, we were hiding for the police around that time, just before June 16. The only time that we had a cake was on my birthday. And guess when is my birthday? 15th of June. So she brought the cake. We shared the cake with my comrades. We were underground. It was for the first time after a long time, having not eaten any decent meal. But what am I saying? Do I regret it? No. Am I still going to fight against it? Yes. But no more throwing stones, but now gathering stones and building the new South Africa we want. Thank you.
Just to expand on something you said today, what does watering the tree with our sweat look like for us? Like, how do we actively water the tree with our sweat? Like, in your mind?
Again, the other sadness that is happening, and it is happening, I heard you talking about, for instance, what is happening in America, where there's a lot of, young people in gangsterism and all that. After 1994, one other thing that happened in this country, many of our brothers and sisters were given drugs. Drugs. And they destroyed many of our black children. They did not only give us drugs, there was something else they gave us. They call it 350. Young people depend so much on this government that this government can even control what they do. Young girls spend more time in the bedroom rather than in the boardroom. Mainly because what comes out of, they get in there, they are 2. They come out there, they are 3. And the third one is paid for. There was a fees must fall. Strong campaign on fees must fall. Our children are still fighting to try and get a book, but to get paid for getting a baby. That whole thing of, not only did they do that, they also distorted our history. 21st of March, what happened? Ntsiki? Eh? Nonsense. Sharpeville Day. Black people died on that day in Sharpeville. And they've distorted our history because they wanted us to not, you guys, not to represent your history well. There's nothing called Human Rights Day on that day. Throw it away. If I'm a teacher, I'll mark you wrong. So all I'm saying it is that we are challenged in this country that we also have misrepresentation of history by those who are our people, and even distortion thereof. I'm telling you about the very June 16, a lot of misrepresentation. There's Shaga's Day that is supposed to be on now what you call Pride Day and Heritage Day. That's our history that day, but we have deleted that and distorted that. All I'm saying is that this, you asked this, there's still some little bit with us, there is still some anger. And I don't want to lie. And our young people are angry. And we, as their parents, are also angry. Let me tell you, and this one, I'm going to close on this one. I took my daughter and my children to Robben Island, where I spent 7 years. I then took them to E section. E section is where I stayed for that 7 years. The funniest thing, my second-born daughter, I let them eat in the plate that we're using, enamel plate. And my daughter said, was this the plate we're using? Were these the blankets you're sleeping on? Were you kept in this confinement? I said, yes. He said, show me one man who still is alive, who brought you here. I will kill him. And you must not understand that pain. I spent 18 months in detention without trial, kept in solitary confinement. A fly, an ant was a big body in your cell. And that has not only made us feel as though we have lost our days of our youth, but it is saying to our children, this is what they did to your parents, and it gets them angry.
That leads right into my next question. Your resistance cost you 7 years of physical freedom, 7 years on Robben Island. Can you speak to what those 7 years were like, not just in terms of the conditions, but how you preserve your identity, your freedom within? How did you remain a part of the struggle while behind those walls?
Okay, when I was actually admitted on Robben Island, I hardly had uniform that fitted me. So the uniform was big. I was so small that the uniform that was there could not fit me. So 2 weeks, I had to stay in a single cell there so that Mandela and Sisulu must start sewing my new uniform. So I've got a Mandela label, guys. And so not only that, but at the same time, one thing that we got when we got there, by the way, I was not alone, who went there and as part of the leadership of 1976. But one thing that we did, the Mandelas, Zef Mutuping from the Pan-Africanist Congress, Seth Cooper from Black Consciousness, put us together and said to us, guys, you've been deprived of your education, but you can still get it here. And they made it a point that we study. They made it a point that we focus on education. When I went to Robben Island, I was informed too. What grade is that now? They're calling them grade now. Grade 9, grade 9. It's grade 9. And I can tell you that being behind bars in those 7 years, I got my matric, grade 12, behind bars. I didn't stop there. I got my degree in education behind there. So I usually say, verwoerd, wherever you are disappointed. I'm going to go to heaven one day, I promise you, all of you. And I'm going to go to heaven and say to, are they going to be there? I doubt. They're definitely not going to be there. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to meet Tsietsi Mashinini. I'm going to meet Hector Peterson. I'm going to meet Hastings Ndlovu and say to them, guys, comrades, I stood firm and I made it a point that these young people, including yourself, preserve, protect, and promote Black history. And I'm going to tell them, look at them, and that time they shall be liberated.
Man, give it up for Seth. Okay, more about my trip and connecting with you. Since I arrived in Africa, I told you while I was in Ghana, I went to visit the Asante, and I learned how much they valued the women. They were the queen mothers. The same here, I went to Credo's garden, and they talked about women and the womb. And, they're the closest thing to God because they're the only ones that understand the thin line between life and death when they give birth. I wanted to know, particularly from you, who are some women that inspired you in your life, in your walk, in any way, through your walk with justice, your love for people, your love for education. Who are those women in your life,
When I got arrested, the first person who cried out, her screams and her cries I can still hear them. That was my mom. She cried hysterically, said, he is only a little boy. Please don't do anything but don't kill him. And for that, my mother is my queen. Second from that is Mama. I know that many of them sitting here would not even know that name, Dr. Helen Kuzwayo. Many of us do not even talk. Next day is the 50th anniversary of June 16. We are also going to be honoring some of those unsung heroes. He's in that list. Mom Helen Kuzwayo gave evidence in our trial in mitigation, and then said and told the judge and said to the judge, where are the accused? And then the judge and the prosecutor said, here are the accused. He said, no, these are children. They need to be at school. And it was out of that she became such a mother. Funny enough, and I'm going to say this to people sitting here, one of the best mothers I love, I was telling you as we're coming here, is Mrs. Maponya. She gave us fat cakes. She gave us fat cakes on June 16, and we were hungry. And so some of those women, Mama Winnie Mandela, you can say whatever you said. We counted corpses of children. She mothered us right through the time. And for that, those are some of those women who are still mothers to me to today. And I'm only talking South Africa. You don't want me to go.
Okay, go.
But then it is proper to say, how are we treating these women? We have asked now, how are we treating? We're not in this country treating our women well. Boys, are you here? Men, are you here? Men, are you here? Can I see your girlfriend? Can I see your girlfriend? Can I see your girlfriend? Why are you here without your girlfriend? Now, the disrespect that we give to our African women, please, can we start a serious campaign? Can we start a serious campaign? We have undermined our women. We have even shredded them into pieces, killed them, put them in suitcases. And all I say is that when I hear GBVF, this gender-based violence, I've always asked, why are they black? Why are they not white? Why is it black women? Why is it black children? And please, let's have another June 16.
Also along our walk, especially at the museum, you talked a lot about healing. I wanted to know in this, state of time, how do you protect your mind and spirit to the best of your ability from the trauma while still telling the truth of what happened? And what does healing look like for you? Is the wound still open?
I indicated to you when we were at the June 16 Memorial Acre that many of us, the class of 76, have not yet healed. We have never had the opportunity to heal. If amongst the children that are here, or young people that are here, if you have a mother or a father that has gone through June 16, please play a healing role. We're still in pain. And I want to say, I just indicated to you that about a month ago, we met as leaders, those that are still alive. We had to call an ambulance to come and take 2 of our ladies who actually just fell on the ground, crying. We are trying hard, and I must say this, I feel very privileged that I work with young people. I work with NOMS, I work with the Seth Mazibuko Foundation young people, and they allow me the space, to pour out. I pour out, and that pouring out to me is a healing process. But we still need a serious program that is going to look at how do we get healed. Otherwise, it sometimes shows itself as family men. We don't sometimes, act like real father and grandfather. My grandchildren have a problem. They like my cell phone, and I always say, bring it back. So, yes, but yes, we still need that.
My prayers are for your healing, This is my last question. You were just 16 when you stepped into leadership. You were just 16 when you stepped into leadership, younger than some of us realize. Today, the youth are still marching, organizing, and dreaming in the face of old systems wearing new masks. What do you want this generation, my generation, as well as the generation after me, to know about resistance, about freedom, and what does it cost and what it gives?
I'll start by having to say this first. Guys, we watered this tree of liberation with our blood. Please don't do it anymore. Don't water it anymore with your blood. Please do it with your sweat. I'll keep on preaching that. There is no more a need for you to do it with your blood. Pack that. Guys, there is no more need for throwing of stones. Please, it is time for gathering stones. And if you want, no, we threw stones for you, and we did it very well. No, sawashaya maphumi. Hayi sawabetha baba. They're even scared up until today. That is why they want to go to Trump. They're still scared even today. I'm a Bruno, Afrikaner whites. No. They think they're going to find comfort there. And mainly yours now, please. You know, we're having a conversation on the 13th with young people, and I was excited when young people are starting to say, we no more need summits, we no more need big meetings, we need action as young people. We need action. I told them that in 1976, I was elected in the Action Committee, that in 3 days, it was on the 30th that in a meeting that elected us. 3 days thereafter, we were in the streets. So you guys spend more time in summits because you eat. You know, there are those tenders that you get for catering. And at the end of the day, we do. If you want to help me, I'm asking from our young people, I'm asking them, please, young people, it is time that use our wisdom, intergenerational dialogues, use the little wisdom that is there, and please, we will use your being very intelligent. And I can tell you sitting here, 1976, there was no cell phone. There was no cell phone. But we managed to galvanize young people, the whole country. And I'm saying, young people, let's start gathering stones to reconstruct and develop our Africa, our blackness, and ourselves.
All right, so we're gonna question and answer session quickly. I want to say that the children there at the back, Nitoyile at the back. Please, we're gonna give you another chance to behave and listen and engage because we are a loving community. You know we'll never throw you to the dog. So I want to invite the naughty children in class back into the conversation, please. Are there any questions from the audience? We're engaging with Rapsody, Nobabu Seth Mazibuko tonight. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So are there any questions? You might have to come to the front because we don't have mics that can get to you. Yeah, please, my brother.
Is there something that the youth is doing right, and where can we?
Is there something that the youth is doing right, and what can we do, and how can we move as the youth?
There's a lot, my brother, that young people you are doing right. Never undermine yourself. Otherwise, you shouldn't be here singing. Should have been somewhere else. Otherwise, oh yes, are you here now? You wouldn't have invited us. There's a lot that young people are doing and doing right. But please, do me a favor. Be careful of those T-shirts that are in political T-shirts. They're destroying your vision. Today, you are wearing a red T-shirt because someone else speaks louder. Tomorrow, you're wearing there's a new one, a T-shirt, green one. And please avoid those T-shirts. Have messages in your T-shirts that are seeking to unite you and that are seeking to say we are going to fight and fight for ourselves as young people. Actually, I should be asking you, young people, I'm also going to be biblical. Black child, let no one destroy the days of your youth. Give yourself a hand for that.
Thank you anymore. Oh, by the way, you guys, you know, obviously that Rapsody and Mommy Superstar have got music together from the past. And while Rapsody was here, they have been working on more music.
Oh.
So there's a new track coming out, a track called Tuesday. The DJ will play it a little bit later on. You know Rapsody is with the cream of the crop again. So her producers produce for Mad, Bobby Madlib, Eminem, about important, you know. So I just want to let you know that we are also amongst the important. So because of our own Nomi Superstar. So actually make some noise for Nomi Superstar and Rapsody collaboration. Right? Any other questions? I see that group behaves when I'm here, the group behaves. Okay.
I would like to ask, I heard you talking about psychological oppression, and we are, as the youth, we are actually working hard, trying to live by the system, that was actually prevented to us. And like we go to school, we get the jobs, and we do everything, but it seems like there's something that is still missing to make us see the Nomundu. So I just wanted to know, do you have an advice for us to say where should we actually focus our direction at?
My identification with and my support of the hashtag Fees Must Fall movement was based in particular on their, and I liked it, and that's a reason that made me actually support them. It was the issue of decolonization of curriculum. That's your other assignment. Decolonization of curriculum. Our curriculum, whether at university, at the grade 1, in the middle education, is still rubbish. And the sad part is that the very people who are now semi-owning this government, because there's GNU now, they have a problem. They've done nothing to tell us about Shark. They've done nothing to tell us about our history. One thing that, please, young people, you can also give me is that of saying, let's look at the decolonization of our education so that your children should actually learn the real history of African people. Your children should even learn in their language.
Yes.
And the center part of 1976 was not just language, but we knew that language was holding this oppression in that apartheid education called Bantu education. Take up the struggle. Decolonize your children. Decolonize your curriculum so that now we can say we are truly liberated.
I'm just going to add on to what he said. I would say the same thing. It's really about education and consciousness. From here to America, I see the same tactics used. They control us by us not being knowledgeable and us not knowing our history, connecting it, understanding why these systems are in place and how they're played out. And once you understand and have knowledge and understand what they're actually doing, and you can pull the curtain back and see Oz, you know what I'm saying? That's when you can move differently. So especially for the future, it all starts with education, especially for our children. And when they can't get it in school, you have to do it at home. It's us that has to take care of us. We can't expect anybody else to do it. I know in America, a lot of our history is broken down in our communities, where we don't teach each other, where we don't look out for each other's children, and that has hurt us a lot. So it's about getting back to community and educating each other, and building from within. Thank you. Any other? Okay, we go.
First of all, I just want to say thank you very much, Ms. Evans, Seth. Seth, as I mentioned earlier, I came all the way here from Botswana to hear you speak.
Oh,
and
no.
As well as you, Ms. Evans.
Oh, no.
Thank you. That's my homework. Okay. You just did my So, our country, Botswana, played a really large role in the civil rights movement in South Africa.
Sure.
And there's a lot of sites in Botswana that have been forgotten in terms of the work that was done there, how we sheltered exiles there, some of the violence that happened there. We just don't recognize these places. So My question to you, sir, is this. We work together closely at the worst of times. As a descendant of a South African grandfather and a born and bred Botswana, do we have a place as Botswana youth? Do we have a place as Botswana youth in what South African youth are doing now in terms of how they picked up from their parents? And if we do have a place in this development, what is that place? Sorry, I'm losing my words and the nerves are just now taking over. But I think I got my point out.
I don't like your question. It sounds like you're trying to find a space in South Africa. You will always find a space in Africa. Africa doesn't belong to Botswana, it belongs to Africa. And it doesn't belong to South Africa, it belongs to Africa. And you as young people should even start there and start looking at each other, not on your wide defined geographical position. Look at yourself and say, Motswana ki Motswana, Lenna ki Motswana. First thing that I said to you when we were walking, when you were telling me, I said to you, hey, I like your new president. Can you ask him to invite me? And mainly because I'll tell you why. He has come up very strongly against Trump. And he did not hesitate. He told Trump where to get off. And you know what? You know who joined him? The female president of Namibia. They showed Trump, go to hell. And then there's another young man that I like, Burkina Faso. Yes. Yes. And I'm saying, I always pray and say, how many young people are learning from these? And when I say young people now, I'm almost just speaking about young people from South Africa or from Botswana. Young people, there's a lot to learn in leadership amongst those people. And I'm only looking forward that those who are in a space of arts and culture will also do it in that military way. And those who are in education will also do it that way. Because it is time, guys. Please, it is your time. We lose it with you, we no more have our freedom. Don't sell your freedoms. I know you're very strong on that one. And for that, I'll forever, respect you. And you remind me the days of my youth. If you were that young, that time, I would have made these boys blush. Yeah, but young people, as part of what I said, it is very, very imperative that now we should not just be thinking about Botswana and all that. We should be thinking about how do we get our country and ourselves right. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. My question to you is, basically, would you say that this current South Africa is a South Africa that you fought for? And we have this thing whereby we always say on social media that we're not like our ancestors. And my thoughts on that is that we really aren't, because you guys stood for something. Whereas with us, it's like we stand for nothing. So my question to you is that, are you disappointed in this current generation of like South African older youth? And yeah, are you like disappointed in this current like South Africa and how they act like in terms of like social issues and political issues? Because you guys, you stood for something, you fought for us. Whereas with us, we are just like social media warriors. We just Twitter warriors, but we never take any action. It just starts and ends on social media. So, what are your thoughts on that? Thank you very much.
Actually, I should be asking you to answer this question. Yeah, but let me just say this as is. I'm very disappointed at my comrades, not you. We messed you up. We messed you up. Can I tell you? After 1994, we forgot that there's White City. We forgot that there's Orlando. We forgot that there's Soweto. You know what we did? BEE. BEE. We left BEE. All of us rushed to go to Parliament. Most of us cannot even fit in those chairs now because of our tummies being that big. And you know your current acting minister of police. And all I am saying is that, yes, I wish sometimes that there was more of our interaction with you. There was more of you learning from us, but we were not there. And let me take this opportunity, Ntsiki, please, and I'm going to close here. And I know that you asked for this, and I'm going to give it to you. Black children, Black South African, sons and daughters of the soil, I apologize for selling you out in so many ways. Our comrades, our leaders sold you out, left you on your own. And I'm saying on their behalf, please forgive them. And please, let's start this one of going back to get them to come back and know that they've got children, not only in Soweto, but in Africa. I apologize on their behalf. Thank you.
My answer to your question, just from American viewpoint, I sit in the middle, right? I see that a lot of our movement and our resistance is started and fueled by the young people because sometimes they are the most fearless, you know, and they have no problem going out in the streets and fighting, not with blood, but with energy, with passion, you know, and those stories can be turned to look another way, but, you know, I see them fighting and I see them learning and being educated and challenging their parents to do better, think better, and to be honest about our true history. But on the other end, I know that we have a long way to go because a lot of our youth are also sheep to the black box of TV, you know, and social media, and they aren't necessarily knowledgeable or free, you know, and I think that's the biggest struggle. How do we continue to free each other? How do we educate each other? How do we continue to challenge each other? Because it's the idea of I could sprinkle a Jay-Z in front of you, I could sprinkle a Beyonce in front of you, and they're billionaires and millionaires, they got the whole thing. Oh, they're free, so we all gotta be free. No, they're successful. That's not Black liberation. And that's something that we have to learn and get back to. If we're gonna be put in these positions and have these success, what do we do with it to liberate all people so that we all feel free, you know, in this world? And I think that's the next challenge for us.
So my question really is, how do we then overcome? Because the question from our sister right now was, why do we stand for nothing? And when you look around here, SOS historically, I'm originally from KZN, right? So I only came to Johannesburg like 2 years ago. So all my stories and experiences of what happened here and the uprising and everything, it gave me a sense of, we'll see, the people here are the fighters. They actually led the revolution to where South Africa became to where it is today. But when I came here now, everything is different from what I've learned, you know, from when I was younger. Everyone is on drugs, you know. So it seems like the war is chemical. While we were walking the museum, I remember my mother told me stories about how they used to fight the cops who had guns with nothing but
Stone lead.
and a brick, you And it's a very iconic thing for me, you know, like it has memories. So when I saw it, I was like, so they stopped shooting us and they're shooting us up. You know, there's a time where I experienced with some friends and relatives such and such. In one street, in one weekend, three young people under the age of 30 were buried because of drugs and lifestyle. So where are the fighters that I know of, that I learned of, and you know, told me to be a revolutionary and revolt against the system? To this day, I fight to be a pioneer. You know, we were talking about it earlier, and because of all these stories, so what is happening? How do we overcome? And I know in America you have the same situation. So the war is chemical on the black child. How do we fight this?
Let's move on to guys, please. Otherwise, you can go out onto the balcony and have nice conversations there. But can you respect the panelists then? Zela, please.
Oh, I thought we were going to answer. And I'm going to be very brief because I think I'm going to answer this the same way. There must be a conversation of young people. Ntsiki. You must hold a conversation, guys. You were asking also, where did you go wrong? You need a conversation, and you've got all the facilities that you can also hold that conversation. Well, I do a little bit of TikTok. Did you know? But I can assure you, some of the conversations that take place in TikTok, they're useless, they are killing you, they are oppressing you, they're promoting drugs, they're promoting nudity, they're promoting everything. Why can't we take this to another level? And let's have a serious conversation about this chemical warfare. Have a serious conversation about this decolonization of curriculum. Stop just doing about it. There's one thing that is good that we do, and particularly yourselves as young people, you do this very well. What happened to Kwekwe? You were all out. Hey, Kwekwe. It was everything, universities and what happened? Where's that spirit? Pack that. Next month is Women's Month. Watch the space. You'll all be in black. All of you. And then after that, what happens? We get another woman then getting raped that very night when you were in the streets during the day. Please cut off that. Let's get to serious business, young people. Let's get to serious conversation that can then, actually, if it is possible, that we can have, maybe if they come with chemical warfare, we'll come with a nuclear warfare.
From my point of view, our chemical warfare was the same as y'all started during the Ronald Reagan era. And it was introduced in our communities, the same as liquor stores, the same as McDonald's, over and over. And it was something that nobody knew what it was, but once you were hooked, you were hooked. And it absolutely destroyed the Black community and the family. Now today we know what it is, we know what it does.
Yeah.
But sometimes we still fall victim to drug use and alcohol. And now it's a Band-Aid. You know, in America, you can't get health care for free. You just can't go to the hospital and be sane. Education is not free. People are starving, you know, and people use drugs and alcohol to numb that pain, right? So now it's like the only way to heal that is, you know, you have to protect the children and the people. Now you have to figure out, if the government or nobody else is going to help us, how do we have after school programs to teach our children and keep them off the streets and heal them? You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a time where you didn't need anybody to do it. Auntie down the street would open her home and teach the children. Sometimes even they were drug dealers in America, but they were smart. When they saw a child, they would never sell drugs in front of a child. They would ask, why are you not in school? My biggest thing is we have to get out to community and doing those things to protect and heal and make change and make a safe space for people to go and have these conversations to build. So those were some things that I would implement, you know, to start the healing process and to grow as a community and get ourselves out of, you know, what they have done to us by design.
Thank you for organizing this, because I think this is such an important and iconic event, and even you, Ntsiki, with your Umoya podcast. So, my question is to the both of you. I'm noticing that there is a lot of attention given to the woman rising, and the women are rising. The women are doing the work. The sisters are being the institutions of love and rewriting the narratives. I am deeply concerned in the collective Black family about the male narrative. You know, I'm seeing our brothers being left behind. I'm seeing the narrative of the Black father being imbued in negativity. And all of the aggression we see with the proliferation of rape, it starts with us, with, like the brothers in our community. So what tools would you suggest this generation of young men put together to actually mobilize a different legacy for Black men, where I can walk in the street as a Black woman and I feel safe, or I'm taking a hike and there's a group of Black men and I don't need to stop and act like I'm tying my shoe. And if it was white men, I wouldn't have that worry. So we've inherited so much trauma in the Black space and from the Black male perspective, that I see the woman rising, I see the woman doing the work, but I'm seeing our brothers left behind, and I'm worried about that narrative for our brothers.
One, I think, is accountability. I think as men, you have to hold other men accountable. Um, we were having a great conversation. I went to Bethel yesterday and we had a 2-hour drive back, and we were talking about this very subject, because it was about women, women, women out. We were like, well, what about the men? Right? And there was this analogy brought up. Homie, if you in here, I'm not gonna say your name, but it was an analogy broken up where it's like, I feel like I have to protect the women. It's like the women are a zebra and the man's a lion. And I said, well, that's the problem. The men aren't lions. They're men. If you know a brother that's not respecting a woman, you need to check your brothers. If you know women aren't safe on the street, sometimes we have to come out and make sure like they get home safe. Like we have to hold each other accountable in that way. And still, there's still a lot of healing with men, I think too, like making space for them to be emotional. Sometimes your healing projects out in other ways. How do we create safe spaces and spaces for healing for men? And as a man, Brother Seth, I'd love to get, your perspective on that.
I keep on referring to you. I don't know why. But the basic part is that one of the things that we lost out is exactly what you talked about, Ubuntu. And Ubuntu doesn't mean undermine your woman or undermine your man. It speaks well of family. So immediately when, as Black people, we start saying a man is part of that family and a critical part of that family, and a woman is part of that family and a critical of that, and the children that are born out of that family. I just don't like this, us putting ourselves in these small compartments that are seeking to divide us instead of uniting us. Someone said to me the other day, it is because we are talking about who, but you're not talking about men. Pick it up. You are talking about who, but you're not talking about men. So your woman is short. There must be a conversation that puts that who to a man and a man to the who.
And then someone who's lost their key and hasn't realized the lock has got a swan on it. I'm going to leave the key at the bar. If you've lost your keys, would you?
Thank you very much. My name is Mbogeni, and my question is to is what can we learn from hip hop? We're seeing a bit of a resurgence ever since it turned 50, and they're reclaiming space and returning to the old values of what it was meant to be when it first started before it got perverted. So how can we articulate a message of unity for South Africa? Because we've kind of forgotten what the South African dream was, and how do we sell hope in the face of so much hopelessness? Those are my questions.
I have to ask you because I'm not from South Africa. What is the South African dream in your words when it comes to hip hop?
Related to what this country has two opposing visions. The way I look at our country is there are two opposing visions. There's this narrative of reclaiming, decolonizing, which then creates division for a part of the society. And then there's the other side that's inclusive kind of rhetoric, but that inclusion is on someone else's terms. And so, to the point I think Seth made earlier, that there is no conversation because everyone is in their own camps, speaking to their own people. And so, we're perpetuating division. And I'm seeing some cleansing happening within the hip hop space that we could learn from as a country to say, let's sweep and bring in what was meant to be. Because the rainbow, that dream did exist, even though they sold us a lot of other stuff with it. But we can then cleanse it of with impurities and keep what was good of that idea.
I think the biggest thing that has helped hip hop is guys, guys at the back, can you ask me to respect the panel? Or they go teaching the chair. Our speaker tonight, she's a gentle speaker, guys. So can you accommodate an introvert, a gentle speaker, and listen and lend our ears, please, guys? And go. I think in the hip hop space, it was always about community and working together. It was always about us not being divisive. And somewhere along the lines, in the same way that they use chemical warfare, they infiltrated our music at some point to divide us. The beautiful thing about what hip hop is doing now is becoming a lot more independent, and we've erased the borders and the flags, and we're seeing that we can all work together, right? Whether you're a woman, man, you're Black American, or you're from Africa, right? And I think that's the biggest difference. I can only speak, for example, I came here to work on my album because I wanted to continue to create the bridge between Black America and Africa, right? And I think that's just the biggest and most effective way, especially for the youth, is to do it through the music. When I first went to see the Credo Museum Tuesday, he said something very powerful to me. He said they used to say, you put information in books if you want to hide it from a Black child. He said, no, not us. It's our art, and then the message that's in our art that continues to educate us. So that's what it's about. Continuing to put the message and bridge the gap. That'll continue to help us grow. When you come to hip hop, whether I'm here, whether I'm in Japan, whether I'm in Europe, whether you speak Zulu, whether you speak American, whatever you speak, music does not have a language, it has a frequency, and people feel that. And I think as long as we create from those places, and that's from a place of about money, and we put feeling and meaning into it, that we continue to be a better people because of it. It's a tool, it's a vessel, it's a language that continues to put us together.
I don't know anything about hip hop. Give me jazz. Then I can show you. Is that so? Please, let's do it.
I love that there's so many women asking questions tonight. You can tell them we've got a great team of building.
The guy, I'll see you now. And now it's morning comment, So, anyone who has said, I think it's very important that we use our art to connect with who we are, especially whether it's music or visual art or hip hop, whatever that it could be, but we have to connect to ourselves. And through art, we can do that, and through art, we can heal as well. So if you connect to who we are, I think the universe is like open waiting for us to unlock, because this is time for us to rise and be who we are. We don't have to waste any more time, we just have to start because this is our time. Thank you.
whom you said that like you're more disappointed in your generation, and you feel like our generation is really we're fearless and we're going into the streets. But I actually think we're a very performative generation. I think we stand for things when they're trending on social media, and the minute it's no longer a hot topic, we step back. I also think that we are actually very scared. Our democracy is very young. We have traumatized parents and traumatized grandparents. And I think we are so scared of almost traumatizing ourselves in the fight that we are not willing to fight. And I want to know, how do we get past that fear, because we live in a country where we know what police brutality looks like. From the apartheid time to fees must fall, we were being gunned down by the people who were supposed to protect us. So how do we get past the fear of knowing that the government is going to send police forces, instead of listening, they're going to send up all their forces to shoot us with rubber bullets and open pipes to us and tear gas and stuff like that? How do we get past the fear of knowing that if we go out, they're still going to do that, but we still need to keep going?
A quick one also then. When is democracy going to be old? At what age? What do you give it? No, I get worried when I still find clip down being clipped down. And where we developed a freedom charter, but you get clipped down still being what it was. Even when we said the people shall govern, when we said people shall have houses, and we did not just promise them houses, we said houses, security, and comfort. They hardly have any one of those. That is why we call their houses RTP houses. It is about time that our government should be understanding that they need to microwave this process. And some decisions that need to be taken, they don't need. I like Botswana, I like the president of Botswana. He says, I'm not going to consult. I'm going to give money and do the project. We've got a problem in this country of consulting. Any consultant somewhere. And these consultations are actually meant to, hide this whole thing. Please, I'm in Orlando East. Are you there, my darling? I'm in Orlando East. I stayed there. I stayed there since from 1960. Guess my age now. And yeah, but what is happening? The house that James Sofasonke Mpanza built in Orlando East is not near the RDP that is being built now. I can assure you, cut my legs and call me shorty, and I'm already short. That house that Mpanza built is totally different and is still there now. But give me one RDP house in the Eastern Cape or in KZN, and I can assure you, people are microwaving this. I mean, please, colleagues, please, African child, please, own this freedom. Put a tempo in this freedom. We are not going to get into the next 30 years. You know what they're going to do instead? They're going to call a national dialogue. This national dialogue, what are we hoping to achieve in this national dialogue? What? When we were in a national dialogue in Codesa 1, 2, 3, we knew that it resulted into a South African constitution. When there was a People's Congress, we knew that it resulted into a freedom charter. What is this one looking for? What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about another 30 years? Aye, man. We want it tomorrow. Freedom is coming.
All right, guys. Unfortunately, it's that time. Unfortunately. Thank you so much for being such a warm and compassionate audience. The people who park their cars at the Soweto Theatre, please be in the first bus. It's leaving now. So please, if you park at Soweto Theatre, and again, the second bus is leaving in 30 minutes. As I promised you, we're going to hear some new music from Rapsody and Nomi Superstar. I'm just waiting for the DJ to come to the sound box so that he can play the song for us. But in the meantime, please give yourselves a warm round of applause for being so patient and so kind tonight, and so warm and such a loving audience. Thank you so much for coming into Uprising. We'd like to thank Dr. Seth Mazibuko for always sharing his wisdom and his experiences with us and taking us along with on the journey. We'd like to thank our sister Rapsody for being so gracious and so kind and so humble and for all you've done for all rappers, you know. They never want to acknowledge that the female rappers are actually better than the male rappers. But we know what it is. We know what it is. Even the men here know what it is. She's better than Kendrick Lamar. Please don't come play with me, guys. So please make some noise. Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry. So we have the DJ Contemplated Youth on Tuesday. Also shout out to the organizer, Nomi Superstar, who arranged for all of us to be there. Thank you so much, Nomi. Please do go to Soweto Nightwalks on her website. You all have the details. She has these walks every month. So please do support the Soweto Nightwalks. One more time, can we make some noise for the panelists? We have to take back the window and Rapsody. Thank you so much.
You full,
And
you, I'm
my
full.
audience at home, thank you for joining. It's always such a pleasure to be with you. Umaya Unite, Umaya Unite. DJ.